Ali. Okay, so yeah, we still have some people filtering in, but let's just go ahead, get started. We'll certainly send out this recording, so that's no problem. Welcome, everyone. So good to see familiar faces, or familiar names, I should say, as well as quite a few new ones. So, we're really going to get right to the meat like we always do. Today, we're talking about social media, specifically how to dramatically improve your lead quality and really your ROI using social media. But we'll also take you through how to get started. So if you're not sure kind of where to start or whether it's even, worth your time at all, we'll get into all of that. So in case we haven't met, I'm Cara Pryor. I'm the president of James Publishing. I'm also the founder of our marketing amplifier system. And it's true, I do spend most of my time really helping attorneys improve their marketing results. And I'm joined by my partner, my co-host here, Lauren Powell. She's a marketing strategist extraordinaire, truly. For more than a decade, she's been helping small businesses generate more leads, better leads, and more sales-ready leads. That's why her approach is always super valuable, really resonates with our law firm audience. Hi, Lauren. And of course, we're thrilled, as we've been teasing, to welcome our special guest today, Ali Awad. Ali, also known as CEO Lawyer, is the founding attorney of Ali Awad Law, and he's the most followed personal injury lawyer in the country. He actually scaled an 8-figure law firm in just 3 years. He has 1.4 million followers on Instagram, 1.4 million. So to say he knows what he's doing on social media is an understatement. And we're excited to have him here. Welcome, Ali. Thanks.
Hey, thank you so much for that awesome introduction.
Yeah, we're excited to dig in. So we're really focusing on social media, obviously, today, and kind of how Ali built this multi-million-dollar personal injury firm using social media. So diving right in, Ali. So you talk about the fact that you started your firm quite literally from the trunk of your car, right? And generated your first couple million in revenue without a website, using your phone, using social media. Tell us a little bit more about those kind of early days and, maybe what that journey looked like a little bit.
Sure. So I think all professionals and all lawyers need to focus on skilling up first before trying to scale up first. Now, we see a lot of entrepreneurs out here and a lot of, Instagram influencers that want to show you the glitz and glamour of running a business and being your own boss and being a laptop warrior, flying all over the world and running a business from your laptop. That's all cool. But if you don't have actual skills that benefit society, that consumers are going to want to come back for, here's the standard. The standard is, are you good enough at what you do that you would want your own mother to be your client? And if you can't answer that with a resounding yes, an incredible positive affirmation that, yes, I do such an incredible job at what I do that my own mother would benefit from this, and anyone who doesn't hire me, I feel sorry for, now you've got an incredible skill. And when you have that level of knowledge and that level of commitment and confidence to your skill, scaling up your business and being able to market is going to come naturally because people are attracted to those that educate them and give them value. So I learned this at a very young age, that being able to bring in clients and make sales isn't about force selling people. It's not about getting them to do something that they're uncomfortable with or that they don't want. It's guiding them and educating them on the benefits of having this particular product and service. And hey, it just so happens that I have to offer it. So the idea here is that focus on your skills first. Focus on your abilities and the product and the service that you have first before you try to market it and sell it to the world. Because your brand is one of the most powerful things that you can ever have. It takes you 20 years to build a reputation and 5 seconds to destroy it. Don't be cheap by stepping over $1 to pick up a penny, right? Focus on your brand, focus on your mission, focus on your education, and then all that other stuff is going to follow. So that's how I want to start, because I don't want people thinking that it's just about marketing. In fact, I'm a way better business person than I am a marketer. I know a lot of people that are better marketers than me. And the truth is, I know they're better marketers than me because that's all they focus on, is they just bring in the clients and then they refer them out to other people. I have a very deep personal injury business infrastructure. So I became an expert at personal injury before I started really marketing myself because I didn't have the confidence. You kind of get that imposter syndrome, and a lot of, and I'm not categorizing myself as these people, but a lot of successful entrepreneurs and people that have built 8-9-figure businesses and brands still have that imposter syndrome where you feel like you're just not the real deal. Like you're trying to be someone that you're really not. And the truth is, in finding yourself and in trying to become the best version of yourself, you have to let go of who you were before. In order to achieve greatness, you have to let the good go. And so one of the things that I'm constantly thinking about is how can I improve myself and how can I get better? And from a marketing perspective, that means continuing to try new types of content, new types of videos, new types of posts, new types of engagements, right? Tracking it, seeing what people like, and then running it as an ad. And so I don't think about what I want and what makes me happy. I think about what people want. It's such an objective standard, even though objectivity comes from a series of subjective, notions. You can only get an objective standard when enough people decide subjectively, we like this. But the problem that a lot of lawyers have is that they advertise with the intent of making themselves look better and really fluffing their own ego. Like no one really cares about your big face on a billboard plastered all over the highway. I want to know what you can give to me. And what greater gift can you give to someone than free education and giving them access to things that your 7 years of education becoming a lawyer, your years of experience in litigating and trying so many cases and practicing with so many clients, just giving them that information for free. And then taking the effort to deliver it in bite-sized chunks. I tend to talk in sound bites. So even when I'm doing podcasts or doing shows, I'm thinking as I'm delivering the content and as I'm talking, what's this going to look like when my video editor comes in and cuts it up into an individual video and then posts it on my social media? So I say all that to say this. You're only going to become an expert marketer, an expert entrepreneur, an expert business person when you continuously try to refine and get better. If all of your posts on your page look the exact same, and especially if they all look like advertisements, if they always look the same, you're not improving, you're not changing. You haven't even given yourself an opportunity to know what works better. So bottom line is no one really, really knows what they're doing because there's always something better. No one can tell you definitively, this is the best thing since sliced bread. There's nothing better than it. Why? Because not everything that's ever been created has already been done. That's the beauty of creatives on social media, is that you can keep getting better and better and better. And so what I'm trying, the message that I'm trying to relay here is that whatever you're doing now, understand that you can do something better. And you're only going to discover that better thing if you try new things. Now, it's scary to try new things. It's also scary to spend money when you don't know if it's going to work or not. But no one ever became great by being scared. So try new things, test it, and then put some money behind it and see what happens. What's the worst that can happen, right? Lose a little bit of money?
Yeah, I think that's such a good foundation and really kind of sets us up for this whole kind of broader conversation. Because Ollie, you talk about, a broad scale, maybe check your ego a little bit. Really, what's going to resonate is valuable content, content that people find interesting, entertaining, perhaps, answers some of their questions. So maybe you can get a little bit more specific on what type of content, gets the most traction for you. What have you found? What kind of mix, talk a little bit about those specifics.
Yeah, sure. Actually, in preparation for this, I wrote down all of my best performing content.
Perfect.
So,
you're ready.
I wrote it down just because I didn't want to go off track. I get excited when I talk a lot, but believe it or not, my best performing content are legal memes where we're just making fun of, a situation or something that's happening, current events, and we wrap in some sort of legal information along with it. I'm probably the only lawyer that spends 7 figures a year just on promoting memes to my clients. Yeah. So that's kind of how we build our page is, I look at it from a funnel of engagement and awareness. And it's the top of the funnel is just getting awareness of your brand. People buy from those that they know, like, and trust. Okay, you've heard this a lot. People buy from people they know, like, and trust. How is someone going to know that you exist? It's just with basic level awareness. They want to know that you exist. How do you get them to know that you exist? Well, you either create content that they absolutely love, or you force your ad in front of so many people's faces. Well, the best of both worlds is when you can combine them and you have excellent content coupled with the amplification of your ad spend. And if you have that, if you have a piece of content that performs exceptionally well, like legal memes, like Twitter quotes that I share, like legal trivia, like car crash videos asking people who is at fault, like carousels. Instagram is really pushing these carousels, like TikTok videos that go viral, that get millions of views, and then I reshare and repurpose to Instagram and Facebook. I take that content and I always run it as an ad just for top of level awareness. Then that funnel gets super packed with awareness. Then you retarget those people with a specific call to action or a specific type of ad that is relevant to your practice area. So if you're a bankruptcy attorney, you're an immigration lawyer, you're a criminal defense attorney, whatever it is, the first piece of content does not have to be your practice area. It should not even be an advertisement, because people know when they're being advertised to. And I have this general rule: if it's on social media and it looks like an ad and it smells like an ad, it's probably a piece of shit. So don't post it. I don't know if we're supposed to cuss, but don't post that stuff on social media for your awareness campaign. Post stuff that people want to engage with. And the easiest way to know people engage with it is to post it organically and then look at the metrics, look at the insights. It gives it to you. If you get I'm going to share with you the best performing or the ways to determine the best type of content, right? But test out your content first. And if it performs well, run it as an ad. And then when those people come to your page, the call to action should be come and follow me on social media because I have awesome content. Then you retarget those new followers and friends of their followers with your specific content to become your clients. Now, you don't hit someone with an advertisement from day one, because they have thousands and thousands of advertisements plastered on their face. In fact, you go on Facebook right now, the second post that you see is going to be an ad. The 8th post that you see is going to be an ad. And every 6th post thereafter is going to be an ad. So with the average screen time of a typical American being 6 to 8 hours a day, how many advertisements do you think they see on their phone? How many advertisements do they hear on the radio? How many advertisements do they see on the road as they're driving? Billboards, TV. It's just, we live in an advertising society. So you have to break through that noise. And if you notice, my best performing content, there are not advertisements. They seek to entertain first and educate second. And when you can accomplish that, you put some money behind it as an ad. You can start building your following and bringing in high quality clients because you took that initial step of giving them valuable information that they appreciate, and you actually spent money on it. That's the secret. That's all it is.
Yeah, and we hear about sort of scroll stopping content, right? We're all inundated with so much on, all these social media sites. How do you, you obviously use video, really well. How do you grab the attention, right away? Because I think that a lot of the, to be frank, a lot of the videos I see from attorneys are, hi, I'm so-and-so, personal injury attorney from Austin, Texas, and I'm here to talk to you about, traumatic brain injury. So, how do you really kind of showcase your personality and your expertise? And again, grab that attention right away. That's so sort of competitive.
By putting the conclusion in the intro, by giving people the secret sauce right then and there from the beginning and not waiting by introducing yourself. If I say, hey, I'm Ali Awad and I fight for maximum compensation, I'm a managing attorney for it's boring. No one wants to hear that garbage. But if you start, let's say you're a traumatic brain injury lawyer and you actually record a video where you say, today I had the pleasure of settling the case for these clients for $2.5 million. Now, the insurance company initially decided to deny liability because they thought that my client was partially at fault. But in evaluating the MRIs and in looking through all the medical records, we discovered that there were no pre-existing injuries. So the insurance company was lying the whole time and put profits over people. Now, after working on this case for 3 years, we realized that by building up this case and having attention to detail, we were able to deliver a 7-figure settlement to the family, and they are so happy, and I'm honored to be able to represent them. That right there is a 1-minute video, okay? Do you know which part is supposed to go in the intro? The part where I said the insurance company was lying the whole time. The part where you get most excited. The part where there's an eighth of an octave or a quarter of an octave higher in terms of the inflection of your voice, and where your eyebrows raise and your excitement is just oozing through the screen. That's what needs to be in the intro. And if you do that in the first 3 seconds, there's a much higher likelihood that people are going to want to engage with your content and they're going to like it. And then guess what? Facebook rewards you by showing it to more people. And that kind of has a direct impact in your bank account, because the more people see your content, the more you're going to likely convert to leads, the more you're going to convert to clients, the more money you make. So being boring makes you broke on social media. You just have to be exciting. And the beautiful thing is that the insights will tell you, in terms of knowing what insights to pay attention to. The best type of insight is a share. So if you're posting your content on Instagram and Facebook, I don't look at the amount of likes and comments as much anymore, because you can do engagement bait. I look at the amount of shares and saves that I have. So if I post a piece of content and someone has saved it or shared it with someone and it has a really high number, then I run that as an ad, because I know Instagram and Facebook want that type of content to be on their platform, because it's higher likelihood they can run ads to those people when they see that content. So it's just a game of knowing who's making money, right? They'll give you a little slice of it as long as you can repay them back with the currency of attention.
Ali, we actually have a really relevant question from Amy, so I'll actually ask now, because you're sort of going down that path. She says, how does Ali educate himself on these strategies? Is it trial and error, books, marketing courses? Tell us a little bit about your path.
What's the audience here? Is it mostly lawyers?
Yeah, exclusively.
Yeah, I don't hang around other lawyers.
Yeah.
That's the truth.
Yeah.
The truth is the majority of the community, they get excited about the same boring stuff. And as an industry, we're just not that hungry anymore. I don't see the same hunger in lawyers as I see in other industries.
Yeah.
You know, the hungriest people that I've ever met, they're usually not the most educated people. You're very rarely going to see a super hungry neurosurgeon or a rocket scientist that's like, yeah, I'm going to keep going and keep grinding and keep hustling, because they just spent 15, 20 years to get to where they are now. The hungriest people are the real estate agents. The hungriest people are the used car salesmen. The hungriest people in the world that I've ever met are the door-to-door meat salesmen. You ever had someone with a meat truck pull up to your house and sell you a box of meat? Those are people that are hungry. And those are the people that I would want to hire for my intake team and bring them in to my own firm and train them up, kind of polish them around the edges. So the way that I learn how to become a better marketer and a better entrepreneur is by hanging around hungry people that can teach me something that other lawyers simply cannot do. And after you do that for like 5 years, you take a breath of fresh air and you come up and you're like, holy crap, I'm killing you guys. And so that's kind of what happens, is I just hang around other people. And the truth is, I spend a lot of money in being in masterminds with high-level entrepreneurs. I spend 6 figures annually just on being in masterminds and being in networking events. And now other lawyers pay me 6 to 7 figures to be in my mastermind and be in my circles, because I spent all the time to learn from these other people. So my friends are those CEOs of multi-million and billion-dollar companies. My friends are these digital marketers that have a 500-person agency. My friends are the ones that own a bunch of car dealerships or own 1,300 apartments, and they've been hustling real estate and investing in crypto since 2011. Not a bunch of lawyers. That's how you do it. That's how you change your perspective, is change the people that you hang around with.
Yeah, and you know, I think that the legal industry is one of the few remaining industries where we're still trying to convince people of the value of social media. I mean, just the fact that that's where the conversation goes so often is it really worth it? You know, is this really something I want to do? What do you say to attorneys who are still sort of hesitant or don't really fully grasp the value of simply having a presence on social? I mean, I know that's kind of going back to the basics, but what do you say there, Ali?
So you always hear this phrase that word of mouth is the best form of marketing. That the cases that get referred to you by word of mouth are the best cases, the best clients, the best customers, because a relationship has already been established. There's a relationship of trust with that initial group, and then they decide to refer you because they trust you. So you don't have to spend time educating that new customer or client that you are the right choice and that you're the best fit for them. That's why word of mouth is so powerful, because the trust, the rapport has already been established. If you've ever been in a sales training or a sales boot camp or skill set, you know that building rapport is the most important thing. Once you've established that rapport and you have some sort of, common ground, now you can build off of that. You can't build a house off of a rocky foundation. So that rapport is already established through word of mouth. Well, social media is word of mouth on steroids, because now instead of someone calling and texting and saying, hey, you should hire this person, you should reach out to this person, all they got to do is just click a button and share it to someone's social media profile or tag them in the comments below. I can't tell you how many times I've looked through my intakes and the amount of cases that we bring in, and I'm like, this client didn't come from our Facebook ad. They didn't come from Instagram. They're not following me here. They're not on the Google app. Like, where did they come from? You look through all of your comments and then you see that one of their friends had tagged them in my post, and then they decided to reach out and call us and hire us. That's word of mouth working. And social media is like pouring fuel over the fire of word of mouth marketing.
I love that.
That's why it's so important to build a digital brand.
Yep, absolutely. So Robert asks Ali, when Ali was first starting out and hadn't worked on a case for 3 years and obtained a 7-figure settlement, how did he punch up his 1-minute sound bites?
There's kind of like 3 parts to that question. First thing is, I didn't obtain a 7-figure settlement and working for 3 years. I was just giving you an example. I've just done so many videos and done so many of these that I can do them off the rip. Second thing is, my first cases came from Snapchat through building I only had like 100, 150 followers on Snapchat. And I got it through someone swiping up on my story and saying, hey, one of my friends was in an accident. I want you to, represent them. So I drove to Chattanooga in another state, spent 2 hours, met them at the ER, got them signed up. I have an incredible story about that, but I started by just advertising on Snapchat. And I don't mean advertising. I mean putting out free legal advice and tips. In fact, I started creating this content in law school in 2012. When I first started law school, I get out of my contracts class and I'm like, hey, I just met with Professor Stevens and I got to tell you what happened. Here's what a breach contract means. And then, you learn how to get more exciting. You learn how to, kind of get people on your page and build up followers. And then I transitioned by taking my Snapchat videos and posting them on Instagram and Facebook. And that's kind of how I got better at it. So my 1-minute sound bites are from, how they say you spend 10,000 hours on anything, you become an expert. Well, you spend 10,000 hours creating 1-minute videos, you're going to become an expert at it.
Yep. And I mean, so often it's just about doing it, right? It's just about getting started. There can be so much sort of, apprehension and nerves and, that lack of confidence. You just whip out your phone and, talk about what talk about your past cases, talk about what's going on in your life. And that's sort of how you start. And the more you do something, right, the better you'll get at it, the more comfortable you'll be, and you'll really be able to kind of find your voice there.
And you want to, I'll add to this.
Yeah.
You really have to think about content creation all the time. The type of person that I am is, even as we're doing this podcast and even as I speak in sound bites, I'm recording it on my phone to make sure that I have additional content for Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, you name it. And so I'm always thinking about content and content amplification, because maybe at some point I'll say something brilliant and I'm like, oh, I wish I had that recorded. So that's why I'm always thinking about content creation, and you end up learning how to speak to the person in bite-sized pieces of information. It's actually how the typical consumer wants you to talk to them. People don't want you to talk in legalese. Like, okay, I have an English degree. Like, I got my bachelor's in English. So I can talk ad nauseum about the biggest words and really make you feel like I'm super highfalutin. But I don't want to do that. I want to just talk like a normal human being and make you feel comfortable with me. And so the content creation side actually makes me a better communicator with my clients, because Here's the crazy thing about talking and advertising on video is that when you're in in-person communication, you are talking to the person right in front of you. There's an 18-inch to 36-inch space. And, tonality and body gestures are a huge part of your communication. So because that person is receiving your speech and they're receiving your diction and they know what you're doing, they can see your body language, you can react to them based on their body language and how they respond, even without those verbal cues, those nonverbal cues. But when you're speaking on the phone, you don't get to see the other person on the opposite end. Sometimes you have to pick up those verbal cues, which is only about 5 to 10% of communication is actual verbal cues, not what you say, but how you say it. And so you still have that two-way communication where you get some feedback and you can adjust your words based on what the other person is saying. This is communication 101. But it gets a little bit harder when you have to put out a video and you don't get that communication back. So you don't get that feedback from the opposite person. And the only way that you can cut through that noise is by increasing your level of energy so that they feel like you're communicating to them, because you have to make up for the lack of communication on the opposite end. So the most difficult type of communication, honestly, is email marketing. You send an email and you get someone to buy from you by reading an email, you're a freaking beast. Because not only did they not see your face, they didn't hear your voice. It's literally words on a page that anyone can duplicate. And that's why I think copywriting is the most underrated skill that's out there. Because if you learn how to text and you learn how to create powerful captions on social media, you won't believe the effects that it has on your overall conversions and your engagement. So communication really takes a lot of practice. Understand that the less in person you are, the more you have to compensate for it by your energy and your verbal cues and your tonality and your expressions.
Oh yeah, tons of opportunity there for sure. So I want to get a little bit into advertising, social advertising, but before we do, we're getting some similar questions on the chat. So I want to get your take here, Ollie. So Robert asks, for a solo practitioner with very limited marketing budget, is hiring a marketing agency worth it, or can we get by with DIY marketing? I'd love to hear your take on that.
All right. If your budget is under $5,000 a month, okay, for advertising, let's say you're a small practice and you want to spend a couple $1,000s a month in advertising. Does it make sense to hire an agency? The answer is no. And let me tell you why. Because there is no agency that I've ever discovered that can actually create the creatives for you, the videos, the posts, the feel, the look of your page better than the owner and the CEO, entrepreneur, him or herself. The first $5, $10, $15, $20,000 of ad spend that you have for your business is 100% focused on the content creation and the engagement that you get from that content. So your best investment would actually be to hire a full-time videographer or a part-time videographer to edit your videos, to post them on TikTok, to post them on Instagram and Facebook, and for you to keep track of the metrics of those posts to see what works well. And then you can actually go to business.facebook.com, have your own business dashboard, and boost those posts to your ideal target audience. Now, in the beginning, you're probably going to spend a little bit of money and waste it on things because you're not sure, but an agency kind of has to do the same thing. They're going to have to spend a little bit of your money to really figure out your ideal target audience, because unless they're using the same exact type of client with the same exact personality and the same message and the same content, they can't know with definitiveness that the content that you're posting to this specific group of people is going to work. They can't know that. So the money that you spend, especially that first $5,000 in ad spend or a couple $1,000s a month in advertising, should really go towards the content creation and spend less in the amplification, because promoting garbage content is way, way worse than spending your effort on creating high quality content without boosting it in ads. In fact, building up your organic presence is the best thing that you could possibly do. My hamartia is that I can afford to spend a lot of money. So now I'm too lazy in creating that great quality content because I can overcompensate with it with a 6-figure ad spend monthly. So my content was actually better last year, 2 years ago. My average value per case was higher a year, 2 years ago. I was actually better at social media last year. Now I'm just a better overall entrepreneur and marketer because I'm focusing on other things. So really, really dive into that organic aspect of your business first. You do not need an agency. I would say once you can afford at least a low 5-figure monthly investment, then you should find an agency that specializes in the type of law or the type of business that you practice. Don't find an everything agency because a jack of all trades is a master of none.
Yeah. And, I think what you just described, really kind of working on the assets, getting, some organic, traction. A lot of time, more often than not, I see attorneys really flip that. And that can be such a mistake. I mean, that's when you're just throwing your PPC dollars down the drain, right? And you don't have any sort of funnel or follow-up or anything, any sort of system in place to really capitalize and make sure that the foundation is secure first, and then we kind of go from there. So Lauren, let's talk a little bit about, more specifically advertising and I know you had some questions for Ali around that.
I did, although you just answered my primary question, Ali, which was, the relationship between organic content and ads. But I think maybe you could share a little bit about what that path looked like for you before you had funds to invest in ads or before you had funds to hire the agency you're working with now. What did that look like for you, for anyone who's kind of in that messy beginning or messy middle?
Yeah, I love that question because I had a lot more fun with my content like 3 years ago before I had 40 employees and an 8-figure law firm. And it's just, the stress is different. So my claim to fame is that in 2018, I spent a total of $6,000 boosting posts from my phone and generated $3.2 million in revenue. And that was just from Snapchat videos that I was recording, and I would repost them on Instagram and Facebook and then run them as ads. I would use Snapchat as my sample audience. I would, if you're familiar with business terms or even sample sizes for medicine, you know that you need a large enough sample size in order to test a hypothesis. You can't have a hypothesis and say, okay, I tested it on one lab rat and now that lab rat made it, so we're going to inject this vaccine to everyone in the country. It's all right how I stuck that in there. But you need a large enough sample size to determine the efficacy of your drug or your advertisement or your video. So I would take the content on Snapchat and the content that people would engage with a lot, meaning they would swipe up, comment, or give me like a laughing face emoji, whatever. I would take that and post it on Instagram and just boost it to my followers and friends of my followers. Now, as a personal injury attorney, that is how you do it, because the lowest hanging fruit are the people that actually already know you or may have heard about you from friends or family. Going after a completely new audience and trying to break into a new market is very expensive because personal injury is a branding game, not a lead gen game. People need to know about you. And then it's a reactive business, meaning they need to know about you. And then they have to have been in an accident that's not their fault with insurance. And on top of that, they need to see a doctor and they need a lawyer, and hopefully they remember you. So the only way to really build that type of business is by having great brand recognition. And the best way to get that brand recognition is to create content that people resonate with. When you have great content, you want to take advantage of that great content by spending some money and advertising it to your followers and friends of your followers with a specific call to action to either follow my page or to, press those 3 dots so that you can turn on post notifications, because you want them to know about when new content is coming out. You're not always going to get it right every time. Your content is not always going to crush. But in 2018, I made my first couple $1 million without a website, without an office, without even employees. I think I had like 1 paralegal at the time. You can build a multi-million-dollar law firm just from social media, from your phone, and you can do it from anywhere in the world. But you have to create the content first, and then you have to see what people actually like and then put money behind it. Because if you just blindly throw money into things that you haven't tested yet, it's a very, very painful process of going broke. That's the truth.
That's great. And I think you hinted at this earlier, Ali, and we hear from a lot of attorneys that I don't have time to do it all. And you said, hey, I'm actually better business person than I am a marketer. And so what did that journey look like when it was just you trying to do it all, trying to do social media and fulfill on cases? Who did you hire and how did you think about scaling up the firm as you were scaling up?
Okay, this is a really good question. As you're starting as a young entrepreneur, and I use the word young as young in your experience, not young in your age. As you're starting your business, you have to wear every single hat, and you have to do the accounting. You have to do the client calls. You have to manage your software system. You have to order the books and the supplies. You have to meet the clients. You have to do everything. And over time, you figure out what you're really, really good at, and you have to decide what's the highest and best use of your time. So for me, the things that I absolutely hated were doing the accounting and bookkeeping. So one of the first things that I ever outsourced was I found an accounting firm that was nearby and said, look, I don't want to write another check in my life. I'm going to give you all of it and you take care of it. You consolidate my IOLTA report and then you handle all my bookkeeping. So at the end of the year, I give it to my CPA and they handle my taxes. Cool, cool. I haven't written a check since 2018. The next thing that I wanted to do was identify the lowest value skills that I could outsource or hire in. Because if I want to make $1 million a year and I only want to work 2,000 hours a year, which is an average of about 40 hours a week, that means I need to make about $500 an hour in order to make that kind of money. So if I want to make $500 an hour, I want to have a net value of $500 an hour, then I can't be doing tasks that are cheaper than that. Now, the beautiful thing is that there are very few tasks out there that cost more than $500 an hour. But you can start with the ones that you can get for $8 an hour or $10 an hour or $12 an hour. So the very first person that I hired was an assistant to handle my setting up of claims, things that require very, very minimal experience and legal skill. Hey, I want you to call the insurance company, set up the claim, send out a letter of representation, and then make sure we send these letters to our clients for updates. Cool, cool. The very next hire was a very expensive paralegal. I paid this paralegal more than I was making myself because I was investing everything back into the business. I was also $200,000 in debt when I first started my business. So I couldn't really afford to pay myself. And then I got married the following year. So I was like, I really can't afford to do this. So I wanted to make sure that I hired someone that can handle even a higher value skill, which was communicating with clients, drafting demands, and communicating with insurance companies to get these cases settled for me, or at least getting it up to a stage where all I was doing was closing clients on the phone and then closing cases with insurance adjusters, because that's the highest and most valuable use of my time. Eventually, as I got better, I realized that I can't take all of the intake calls myself. So I hired a rockstar intake director. This is also a very high paying position. You think it's expensive to hire a professional, wait until you hire an amateur. So get to a point where you can make enough money to hire an expert, someone that's really, really good at what they do, to replace that specific task and then delegate. Here's the general rule of thumb. You need 5 employees to do what you do at 80% effectiveness, meaning all the things that you do as a CEO or an entrepreneur. You're going to need 5 people. You're going to need 1 assistant. You're going to need 1 front desk receptionist. You're going to, 3 different people, specialists that do these specific tasks. And they're still not going to do it as good as you, because no one's going to care as much as you do, because it's not their business. But when you hire enough people, you realize that now you can focus on the higher level tasks and the higher level use of your time, and you can hire more people. So the goal is to outsource and delegate the tasks that you're not good at, that are very cheap, and then slowly work your way up to the highest or the higher value tasks. Eventually, you end up doing only a handful of things. And now I only do about 3 or 4 tasks in my law firm on a regular basis. Everything else is managed in this specific department. But that's how you start.
And would you consider, Ali, creating content a high value task that you can't delegate to anyone else?
I have a 7-person media team, and I'm still the face of the content creation. This is a $1 trillion company, is what this is. Because I'm not just a marketer. I'm not just an entrepreneur or a business person. I'm an incredible connector with people. And that's something that I just learned over the years, because I grew up really, really poor. I grew up in a Hispanic town. where I was one of the only Arabs, and I had to learn how to speak Spanish with my friends, speak English at school, and speak Arabic at home to be able to communicate with the people that mattered to me. And so I was forced to become an excellent communicator. And then I got really, really good at sales. I was making $10,000 a week in eBay sales while I was in middle school. I mean, I wasn't old enough to have my own bank account. So my dad took all that money and, he spent that on his family. He sent all that money overseas. So I've had a 7- and 8-figure work ethic, but with a 3-figure salary for decades. So yes, absolutely. The content creation is the most valuable thing that I can do because this is what feeds everything else. But you got to build your machine first. You can't just go out and market and bring in clients, because this year on 2 separate occasions, I've actually had to scale back my marketing. We've been bringing in too many cases, too many clients. There's something called responsible scaling. You shouldn't just keep growing for the sake of growth. You should manage your clients and make sure that they're taken care of so that your reputation remains stellar. So last month we had a record month. The month before that, record month. The month before that, record. We kept shattering new records. Well, after hiring, like the majority of my employees came this year. That's a lot of scaling. That's hiring a new person every single week, new employee every single week on average. Now you get some turnover from time to time, but that's expensive. And so if I want to maintain the quality control of my business, I have to scale back and really train up these people and identify who are the people that can eventually be leaders, supervisors, directors, and who are those that are, I call rock stars. There's a difference between rock stars and superstars. The rock star is like that rock of Gibraltar that doesn't move. It's an immovable force. It stays there. You can always rely on it. And then there's that superstar, like a shooting star. It's always looking for that next opportunity, always wanted to grow in your business. You need both, but you really got to identify who is who. And so we scaled back. In fact, we're scaling back for the rest of the year because I'm focusing on building up my CEO Lawyer Summit in December. We've been bringing in attorneys from all over the country, and I really want to put an incredible show. And we're bringing in some of the best speakers and the best lawyers in the country to come and present at this event. So yeah, I want to focus on delivering an excellent product to the attendees of my summit, but also my baby is my law firm. I have a 6-month-old son now. He's my first baby and I love him to death, but my first baby was the CEO Lawyer brand, and so I got to take care of it. And that also includes the mental health of your employees. You want to make sure you're not overwhelming them. They can't care as much as you care because they don't own the business. So you really have to keep your finger on that pulse, know when you get to a point where you're growing too fast and you have to scale it back. And it's better overall for your organization if it takes you 5 years to get to that goal with everyone being happy and you taking care of everyone along the way, especially your own mental health and prioritizing your family and your relationships, versus doing it in 3.5 and then just obliterating everything in your way. Now, 5 years ago, I would not have given you that answer. I think I've just matured over time, but I've just realized there's more important things than just making a lot of money and trying to become famous, right? There's actually family and people, and the people that rely on me are my employees, and I want to take care of them. And sometimes that means taking a step back on the income.
So I think I know the answer to this, but William's asking in the chats, do you recommend the attorneys are always in videos themselves on social media, or should they hire a social media personality as the brand ambassador?
Let me be very clear. You don't have to create videos to have a successful law firm. In fact, at our summit, we have 7 lawyers that are #1 in their states, and 6 of them don't have a social media presence. So these lawyers are actually making $80 to $120 million a year in attorney's fees, not settlements. They make hundreds of millions of dollars a year, and they don't have a social media presence. They have a face made for radio, right? But they figured out how to buy media. They figured out how to blitz a market early on. They figured out how to have their own competitive advantages. So if your competitive advantage is, let's say you're an expert litigator and you want referrals from other lawyers, you don't need to be doing everything that I'm doing because it's not your personality. It's not going to work for you. What works for you is just educating lawyers from a deeply legal educational perspective and getting lawyers to refer you cases based on you being the authority figure. So me being the expert litigator, you should be referring me your cases. And here's why. Boom, 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 boom. That kind of ad, you post it on LinkedIn. You run it as an ad to other lawyers in your respective area to get those referrals. You can play the Facebook game and upload an email list on Facebook and target those lawyers too, but your money is going to be in LinkedIn and in-person networking events. So the question, I know it didn't directly answer, I'm going to directly answer it now, but the question is, do you need to be the one? Does the lawyer need to be one in the videos? Only if that's what you really want and you think you're good at it. You know, people can tell when it's forced and you're not happy, but there's definitely something that you're good at and you like sharing and you want to be the face of. Do that and then figure out how to build a brand around it. Truth is, I wanted to be an actor from a very young age. And I just figured out a different way to act, and it's on video and happens to be connected to my law firm because I really, really love it. So figure out the stuff that works for you. In terms of a social media personality, I'm a little wary of outsourcing anything doing with my marketing because no one is going to care about your brand more than you. And unless you're giving that person some sort of rev share deal where they have interest in your firm, highly doubt you're going to get the same sort of ambition and drive and grit and fortitude that you'd like to see from yourself. So I'm not saying you have to do video and you have to be the face of it. I'm saying there's nothing safer than doing it yourself.
Ali, what about qualifying leads? So one of the biggest complaints I hear from law firm owners is, okay, we have, high volume of leads. Many of them are unqualified. Takes a lot of time to sort of screen out, all of those leads. How are you really kind of leveraging video to really just improve the quality of the prospective clients who are coming through?
Well, look, it really goes back to the sample size. A lot of people are going to say, oh, we get so many disqualified leads and so many. Well, let's look at it from a percentage. If you get, let's say 100 leads a month and then 70 of them are disqualified, you're still getting 30% conversion. That's pretty good numbers. It just seems like you're getting a lot of garbage leads because the majority of your cases are not qualified. Now, there are negative keyword approaches. Obviously, you can make sure that in your Google PPC and your pay-per-click campaigns that you have negative keywords. You make sure certain people don't see your ad when it comes up. You can define and really hone in on your marketing so people know that you're a personal injury lawyer or an immigration attorney or a trademark attorney, whatever it is. But the more you do it, the higher the likelihood it's going to stabilize. And to be honest, the solution is make enough money to where you can hire someone to handle a lot of those calls. And when you call my firm, for new clients, press 1, existing clients, press 2, all of their calls, press 3. I'm not going to waste my time talking to insurance adjusters. Okay. It's just not what we do. I'm also not going to be giving updates to clients when they should be following the case manager or the paralegal or the assigned attorney, because then they're not going to respect that attorney or that paralegal because now they're always going to bypass them. So you also have to train yourself to not do everything. You just can't do it all. So once you make a rule, once you delegate, you set it to the side, you check in on it from time to time, trust but verify, and then you move on to the next thing that you can delegate and outsource. So when it comes to your intake, you just got to make enough money to be able to identify the qualification criteria. And if you do get a lot of volume of cases that are unqualified that don't meet your specific criteria, then maybe you should find other lawyers that you could refer those cases to so that you're not wasting that money. I haven't built a really strong referral practice. We do have a lot of lawyers that refer us their Georgia cases, and we do a fantastic job of it because, like I said, I spent the first few years mastering the insurance software systems before I became like the CEO lawyer. And so we have a really good system for maximizing case values. So that's why we get those referrals. But we still throw away a lot of immigration referrals, criminal referrals, all those, because it's just a lot of effort. But I started by looking at, I get a lot of employment law leads. So I found an employment attorney that can handle these. And now we're going to delegate those. And so every month I kind of look at it and chip away at it little by little. So that's my recommendation.
Great. So we're starting to get close to our time. So I want to get to a couple more questions, but Ali, I also want to hear about your CEO Lawyer Summit coming up. So let's just get to a couple more questions and then we'll talk about that. Okay, question. How do you target the areas where you advertise? So how do you kind of determine the best areas and demographic when you're advertising?
Well, you have to create an ideal client avatar. So as a personal injury lawyer, is there a way to know how many people are personal injury lawyers on this call?
Let's ask in the chat. Raise your hand, say yes if you are. I would say there's a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, typically our audience is skews pretty heavily that way.
This is a very important question. So here's how you determine your ideal client avatar. It's evaluating your existent clientele base, your existing client list, and seeing where the majority of your clients lie. If you see a lot of 25 to 35-year-old white males, middle class in this specific demographic being your ideal audience, then those are the people you want to target, because those seem to be the people that resonate with you the most. We discovered that after evaluating all of our cases, by the way, it's not just the volume, it's also about the net value per case. So if you're not keeping track of these numbers, start with the highest value cases that you have and look and see if there are any similarities in the type of person that hires you for those cases. So for us, we've realized our Hispanic clients are some of the best ones. So we created an entire new Spanish campaign and Spanish content to go after them. Now, I'm not going to get it right every time. I just blew $100,000 on the radio doing radio ads in Spanish. And I just canceled that contract yesterday. So that wasn't fun, but I still got a lot of information about the Spanish audience, and I got better at creating that content for them. And so I still know that that's my ideal client avatar. So you start by finding who your best and ideal client is, and then go for the second best, third best, fourth best, fifth best. That essentially creates a topic wheel of people that you want to go after. So my topic wheel has entrepreneurs, it has young Muslims and Arabs, it has Hispanic females, it has African Americans in the southern part of Atlanta that live in kind of the more distressed communities. It has martial artists and people that grew up kind of fighting, and it has car enthusiasts. So these are the people that I kind of create content for. And so my content isn't always about just personal injury and hire me if you've been in a wreck. You can only create so much, but I try to showcase my personality, and then I run that content as ads to those people to build that top of level awareness. And then I retarget them with personal injury content to get that engagement. And then the conversion is at the very bottom of the funnel, where they eventually convert into a client because they've seen your ad that they relate to, which is, again, rapport, building that foundation with people. You get their engagement. The more engagement you get, the higher likelihood Facebook's going to show that to other people. And then you expect to convert them. The problem with a lot of you is that you go straight for the conversion. You end up blowing through cash like crazy because you're going straight for the kill. Can't go in for the kiss on the first time you meet them. You got to take them to dinner.
Yeah.
You got to put in a little bit of effort. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah. So Ali, what risks are there? William asks, what risks are there for finding ourselves on the wrong side of bar advertising requirements? I do hear this from time to time. What do you say to that question?
Here's the thing. I think a lot of people really overanalyze the bar requirements. And I think you're just getting analysis paralysis. And no, it's water. I'm on 75 hard, so I got to drink a gallon of water a day. I do this thing at the last, 75 days, 90 days of the year, where we do a goal with our team. So I'm trying to do $10 million in revenue the last 100 days of the year. And then the last 75 days of the year, I want to get in the best physical shape possible, mental shape and everything. So I go on the 75 hard program that my friend Andy Frisilla, I say friend loosely. I have his cell phone number, but we're not really like chit chat buddies, right? He's more of a mentor. So I try to do that. And I also got my employees to get on it too. So we kind of motivate each other. We're in a little text chat for that. But sorry, the question was about ethics.
Yeah.
Florida, I know, has very stringent bar rules. And a lot of the attorneys that I meet in Florida just are really scared of putting out content. The truth is, the ramifications for a lot of these bar complaints usually is a slap on the wrist. It's just like, go fix your content. And so if you notice on our content, we always have disclaimers at the very end. We always put the name of our law firm and the address on the progress bar, right? This is because we want to abide by the bar rules. So if a problem happens, don't try to fix a problem that hasn't been created yet. You're not going to get disbarred from putting out one advertisement on social media. I promise you, you're not going to. They're going to warn you, and then you're going to have to fix it. But it's the lawyers that have a really big presence on TV, radio, billboard. And I've kind of gotten to that point where I'm getting attacks from other lawyers because they see the brand that I'm building. And like, I get it. It's a concern, but the benefit outweighs the negative that you're going to get. You should create the content first. I think for most bar rules, you have to save your content, your advertisements for a year or two. Put a disclaimer at the end. You'll see it in a lot of my videos. Put a progress bar that shows the name and address of your location, because I think a lot of bar rules require you to identify where you're coming from. You should be licensed in the state that you're advertising in. But social media, the law just hasn't caught up to how social media works, to be honest with you. And so maybe I'm the one that's going to be creating that law. Hopefully it'll end up on the good side.
Yeah.
But just don't paralyze yourself in analyzing it.
Totally agree. I think that's great advice. And, there's definitely a difference between sort of putting out educational, high value, entertaining content and advertising. Those are, really two separate things. And, those disclaimers can help. So, all right. Before we break, Ali, please tell us a little bit more about your upcoming CEO Lawyer Summit. I know we have a bunch of attorneys on here who will be interested. So let us know how they can find out more.
Yes. So I am hosting the CEO Lawyer Summit. I just put the website right there in December. This is a legal marketing and growth conference. It's a 3-day event. The first day being focused on personal injury mastery. I became an expert at personal injury way before I became an expert at social media. And so the first day, we're going to talk about how we're getting policy limits on our cases systematically through our paralegals and case managers. We're consistently doing about $1 million a month now in attorney's fees, mostly through my paralegals. I'm not really even touching these cases. I just review them at the very end and I approve the disbursement sheet. So we're going to teach that system, and it's not just going to be me. There's going to be a couple of other lawyers. One of them actually is creating the bad faith law in Georgia. He's one of the most aggressive litigators in the country. So he's going to be presenting. We're also going to have my brother, who's also an attorney and my mentor, going to be teaching about the first offer and negotiation protocol with adjusters. And we're going to be sharing all of our templates with people. So if you're there, whatever information you need, whatever templates you need, we're going to give it to you. After we do the legal seminar, there's going to be doctors. So a neurosurgeon, an orthopedic specialist, and a chiropractor that are going to talk about building up the case from a medical perspective, as well as how to utilize certain things like life care plans, medical narratives, economic value drivers, things like that. So first day, all about PI. We're only allowing PI lawyers or PI firms to attend, no defense lawyers. Even if you hope to get on the PI side and you're still in the defense, we won't allow it. And it's not going to be recorded because the attorneys have requested that I don't record it. So it's just going to be a super, probably only about 100, 150 people will be at that part of the event, because I think it's really important to master your business and master your cases before you try to scale up and learn all about social media. And that's exactly how I'm structuring my event. But there is an open networking to everyone, 5:30 the first day. The event is December 13th through the 15th in Atlanta. So days 2 and 3 will be all about social media mastery and content creation and running ads. So I will be teaching on a couple of things like how to hire your videographer and how to build out your content team. How we're going to have my own ads manager teach how we're targeting people specifically and how to properly geo-target and geo-fence, how to keep up with the metrics to drive those costs per view and cost per lead and cost per case down. The guy that actually built the Yahoo ads platform in the 90s will be presenting. And then we have a couple of, famous speakers that we're bringing in as keynote speakers. We're not announcing them. We're just going to have them show up. So we're putting together some special things for you. It's not a pitch fest. No one can buy a place on the stage because it's my event and I just don't want that. So everyone that's there doesn't have anything to sell you. They just have something incredible to teach you. Most of them are my business partners. Most of them I'm paying to teach me. So one of the questions came up is, how do you learn this stuff? I learn from people like this. And so That's what we're doing. It's a 3-day event really focused on social media mastery and marketing, with the first day being PI. And I would really love your support. I am looking to, we did already sell out of the diamond package, which is the one that includes a 2-hour consultation call with me and my team, where we put together a custom social media marketing plan for you. But the real reason is because we didn't have any more seats at the private dinner. There's also an offsite private dinner. There's a private breakfast networking. We have a CEO Lawyer Summit store where you're going to walk into a store and everything is free. Like, it's going to be really cool. But if anyone mentions that they, saw me on this show, the easiest way to contact me is at CEO Lawyer on Instagram. And so Instagram is my kind of what I'm known for, although the best cases that I have come from Facebook, and then YouTube, and then Instagram. And then my best content comes from TikTok, and then I post it on Instagram. So it's weird what people know you for, but I guess I've become the authority on social media marketing for lawyers. And so I will tell you that it's not just going to be me presenting. We also put together a social media mastery panel. So if any of this stuff is overwhelming to you, we also have other lawyers that I would argue are better than me at marketing. And we're going to have them come up. There's 5 different lawyers that we're bringing up that are going to teach their own strategies, how they're dominating their respective industries. Some of them are solo shops. Some of them have 10, 15, 20 employees. So it's good to hear a perspective from other people, because I know I'm not for everyone. I'm kind of assertive and like I have a dominant personality. And it's important to hear from other people that are also doing very well and better than me. So I'm dominating on Instagram, but there's a guy that does YouTube that's killing it. There's a TikTok, couple people from TikTok that are killing it, and different practice areas too. They're not all PI. So it's going to be great. And this is the event that I'm going to be putting my reputation on the line for. And the lawyers that are attending are going to be, these are people that you normally would not see at events. Like, the lawyers that own these massive law firms don't usually come to these kinds of events. They just send their teams. I'm a little worried, honestly, that so many really big firms are attending, because I feel like this information is extremely valuable to the solopreneurs, the small shops that have under 10 employees or doing under 10 million a year, which, me included. But with these big firms coming in, they have an unlimited resource and unlimited capacity to spend money. And the only way that you're going to be able to beat them is really with your creativity and your content. There's room for everyone still. But once the whales get in, you're going to have to find something else. And I give it a 3 to 5 year shelf life. So I encourage you to come. Even if you can't come, shoot me a message. I'll be more than happy to audit your social media and give you some feedback and help in any way that I can. I'm really blessed and honored to be a part of this program. And if there's anything else that I can answer, I'm here.
Matt asked about bankruptcy lawyer. Will you have a bankruptcy lawyer there at the summit?
Like a bankruptcy lawyer presenting?
I think maybe that's the question. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Bankruptcy lawyer presenting, no. But bankruptcy lawyers attending, yes. In fact, bankruptcy is one of the easiest things to target on social media. My first summit in 2019, we had a bankruptcy firm that came in, and literally within the first 30 days, we tripled their business.
Wow.
It's so easy to target because it's a proactive business. You can convince someone to file for bankruptcy. I can't convince you to go get your ass kicked by a car in the middle of the road. So it's a reactive business in PI. It's a branding game. Bankruptcy, immigration, criminal defense, if you do expungements, those are really easy businesses to blow up on social. And by far, in terms of legal content, the criminal defense content is the best content on social media. When I teach someone about DUIs or hit and run and how to deal with cops and things like that, it just crushes, like millions and millions of views on TikTok. So I guess someone's asking, I'm familiar with Running with the Bulls. I have that book. I haven't really read the whole thing yet. To be honest with you, I really specialize in these minimum policy, these $25,000, $50,000, and $100,000 cases. Over 60% of our cases settle for policy limits. And that's really because I get cases fresh from the accident scene. So because of my brand, people are messaging me on Instagram, on Facebook, whatever. My intake team has access to all my messages. My virtual assistants also are responding. So we're on it like white on rice. And I'm getting these cases fresh from the accident scene so I can build them up from scratch. I think a lot of people get carried away with looking for those multi-million-dollar cases. there's only so many of them in the country. So if you focus on what 99% of people experience, which are usually minor impact, soft tissue, missed cases, and figuring out how to put an extra 10, 20, 30 grand in someone's pocket, you're going to change a lot of lives. That's just the business model that I've created, and we've basically systematized it.
Awesome, Ollie. Well, it certainly sounds like a super valuable event. I really do encourage everyone on this call to check it out. And thanks for your time. It's invaluable, your insight, Ollie. We really do appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Thank you for having me. Thank you, guys. Take care.
Yeah. See you guys all again next week. Have a good one. Bye-bye.